You're listening to Underworld on the Ghost Radio Network.
Ghost Radio Australia.
Listen.
The unexplained. Synchronicity. EVP.
So why are you?
I heard that.
Absolutely fascinating.
What are midlights? Is it real? What do you think?
I love you.
The unseen.
I'm alright.
11:11. Who or what are mutilated cattle?
Listen.
Poltergeists. Your stories. Your experiences. Listen close.
Maria Elita is a psychic life coach, creator of the world's first channeled crystal bed, and a highly sought-after international speaker and presenter. Tonight, though, we are going to talk about her latest venture, Psychic Entrepreneur. Maria is going to tell us about the intuitive X factor that many successful entrepreneurs use in their business life that gives them the edge. She's a Ghost Radio favourite. Welcome back, Maria.
Hi, Leah.
Last time you were on Ghost Radio, I got an email from a man who said that you were a powerhouse.
A powerhouse, oh my gosh. That's a good one.
I thought it was. I thought, because you're literal, aren't you? What are you?
I feel like I'm, like the energy source of the world. But, but powerhouse is great. No, I love that. That's like a kapow statement.
Yeah. That's what he felt after your last, and I would have to agree. We love you on Ghost Radio.
Oh, and I love Ghost Radio too.
Tell us about this X factor that people like Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch, all those people have.
Look, I'm sort of delving into this field, and it's just, to me, the most exciting thing. It's the most exciting thing to sort of now us, witchy alternative people out there, you know who we're talking about, us, are out there, the things that we've sort of been talking about for a long time, and psychic, paranormal, parapsychology, all that sort of stuff, is finally being recognised in the corporate and business community around the planet. Mm-hmm. And what I've sort of been doing recently with this thing that I've created called the Psychic Entrepreneur, and I'm co-facilitating it with someone I'll tell you about in a minute. Mm-hmm. And and he's an entrepreneur himself, and we've sort of put this thing together saying, hang on a sec, maybe the richest people in the world just aren't smart. Maybe, they are smart, but maybe it's just not that. Maybe it's not that they've just got good luck. Because I personally don't believe good luck exists. Good luck to me is just synchronistic opportunity presenting itself. Everyone has the opportunity to, grasp onto it. Most people don't even know it's there.
Yes. So
the X factor, what we've been exploring, is about this, I call it, an intuitive intelligence that they somehow organically have tapped into without even knowing it, that makes their decisions in corporate and personal life that they sort of go yay and nay on. And when you start researching the entrepreneurs or the billionaires on the planet, they all use some key words, about why they make some decisions. And to me, as being a psychic and like an award-winning one, they're the same words that I use. Mm-hmm. So that's the X factor, is basically this intuitive intelligence that they use. There's 3 points that we actually make out to people. We actually tell people, and the 3 points it's an intuitive intelligence. Secondly, they know how to harness synchronistic opportunities, which I can explain a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And there's the third law basically is truth versus fear. They absolutely trust in their whole being that they are right. They don't even know why. You know, so they could have the analyst sitting there going, "You're an idiot. Are you serious? You're going to sacrifice $1 million on that? Are you stupid?" But they're going, "No. I absolutely know without knowing that this will work."
And you said just before that you feel they don't know that they do it. Do you think they're now starting to understand, or do you think there are a lot of successful entrepreneurs who do know that they're using their intuition, or mostly, you know, are you telling them what it is they've been doing?
The ones that, I mean, I have a vast clientele. I have clientele from people who come and lie on my crystal bed, people who want like a housewife who may want a life purpose reading, to actually some very wealthy entrepreneurial clients. And I mean, at the end of the day, they're all people and all humans, and they're all after the one thing. You know, they're all after the one thing of, why am I here? Can you please give me more information to make my life better? And how can I be more happier? It's the same thing. But with the wealthy entrepreneurs, and I basically as well I come from an entrepreneurial family, so it's not like I've tapped into entrepreneurs, you know, at this day and age. I was born into a family, and we had created a massive amount of wealth, like tens of millions of dollars. And a few years ago, that company fell over, and a lot of the family went bankrupt because of it. But from a very young age, I understood the laws of the entrepreneur and all of that. And as with most entrepreneurs, they have failure and success and failure and success. And the family that I'm connected to, individuals have now, you know, got on their own bat and have finding their own ways and becoming self-made entrepreneurs themselves instead of just one family dynamic. So I sort of have a lot of history with entrepreneurs. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And with the entrepreneurs that I'm talking to, they use the word instinct. They say to me, I've got this instinct. I just have it's entrepreneurial instinct. And I say to them, well, it's actually psychic abilities. No, I like to call it instinct. They just have a different language.
It's a very male word, isn't it? Because I'll discuss with you later that of course there are female, you know, great female businesswomen and how they use their intuition, but the word instinct to me is a very masculine word.
And like, even though we may say I use my maternal instinct, we don't use it in the way that entrepreneurial men do.
Yeah.
They sort of see it still as a gut instinct, but they try and logically analyse it as well. So what I'm trying to do is I get them in their feeling, sensing, knowing body. And I'm saying to them, now look guys, because mainly, I will tell you, 99% of my clientele are male entrepreneurs. You know, and I don't know why, they just resonate towards me.
I do, because you're single and you're beautiful.
Yeah, that could help. You know what, just because I'm spiritual doesn't mean I'm, non-sexual.
Very Gemini, very single, very blonde, very beautiful.
Very Gemini, very flirtatious.
Yeah.
But on with the men and the entrepreneurs out there, it's funny because when you sit down with them, and that's one thing, I come from a corporate background, so I know the language that they're speaking, that's no drama at all. So when I speak to them and I sort of just, tell them, this is actually what you're doing, and you're psychic, and there's sort of that little bit of, wow, me, psychic? That's fantastic. Tell me more, how do I do this? So what I'm delving with a lot of the entrepreneurs, especially the one-on-one ones that are coming now, and I'm doing, getting out in the corporate speaking arena as well, is that what I'm doing with them is calling it intuitive coaching. So they're going, wow, I am psychic because I just made all these decisions that have made me multi-millionaire, and most of those decisions were based on an instinctual, gut instinct, psychic knowing. And we talk about how they can actually even refine that more. And yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I would expect all of those entrepreneurs have said to you at some stage, I really had a good feeling about that, but I didn't follow it through and I lost the millions. Or I did something that an analyst told me to do, but I knew it wasn't right.
I love it. I love hearing their stories that didn't work out as well. Now, the guy, or the man, that I'm actually doing this co-speaking tour with...
Mr. Troy Hazard, yeah?
Troy Hazard, yes.
Yep.
Yes, you've researched him. And Troy is the current global president of the Entrepreneurs Organisation.
Mm-hmm.
And he started out as a client of mine and went, wowee, this stuff is so amazing and it has changed my world and helped me so much. How can we spread this? And he's a speaker as well. He's a corporate speaker. He's sort of paid profession as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he and I together, it's a great duo because he gets to pass on the stories that I give the philosophy to.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my own stories, but it's just better as a guy and a girl thing, a male and a female energy, and people resonating to the global president of Entrepreneurs Organisation. He's got a few doozies up his sleeve, some stories. And he tells about a story where he had the opportunity, synchronistic opportunity to sell a company when he was supposed to, when it came up, but his fear held him back, even though his gut told him to, and he lost $500,000.
Mm.
And we've been talking a lot to other entrepreneurs, and they're saying the same stories. They're going, but when I didn't go with my gut, it either fell through, or I lost the water money, or I just, or it didn't. It was nothing but trouble.
Mm.
And one of the little sayings I have, which I hear so many of them use, it's so cute when they start talking my language.
Mm-hmm.
They start going around, and I'll say to them, with the synchronistic opportunity, what that actually means, why I use it so much, is when synchronistic experiences present themselves, that is the universe saying, here's an opportunity right now. You're probably not going to know why you have to go down this road. You're probably not going to understand it at this moment, but trust me, go down there.
Mm.
Okay? So when they've had the synchronistic opportunity presented and they haven't gone with it, but they maybe have gone somewhere else on another opportunity that wasn't so synchronistic, there's been no flow.
Yes.
However, I say to them, if it's all flow, it's all go. Because they're working the way, not only them, but everyone, but they're actually understanding this knowledge, is that the universe is always on your side. Like, the universe is always trying to give you that prosperous, abundant life.
Mm-hmm.
It's us, usually, that doesn't take the little baits that are out there, and we want to do it our way on our schedule.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's so much to it, but it's very, very simple at the same time.
So let's discuss, because intuition straight away. As I was talking about before, male and female. Instinct to me is a very testosterone-driven male word.
Yes.
Intuition is most commonly associated, I suspect, with females. You've just said 99% of your clientele is male, apart from the fact that you're gorgeous and flirtatious and single.
Yep.
There must be another. Why aren't there more intuitively driven businesswomen out there?
I think there is. I think there is.
Mm.
My theory on the business women is, and it is a bit of a generalisation, but it's not for all business women, is that for them to survive in corporate Australia, that they have to be, the balance of female and male energy. Most of them have to harness a lot more male energy to be driven enough to stay alive in it, because it's a hard, it's hard stuff. I mean, corporate America, corporate Australia, it's the same thing. And they do use their intuition, but as clientele for me, for some reason, as we may have discussed, most of my clientele are men. Maybe the females out there probably don't need so much the intuition expert to help them in their choices because they're using it anyway.
Very good point. That's what I was wondering. That was one of the things I was thinking, what you've just touched on, that perhaps it's something they already recognise, whereas you are giving these guys another language to what they've actually been doing successfully. And
a lot of the business women too, most of them are the super mums the super women who are mums as well. Now, you've got children, I've got children, we know what that maternal, instinct or intuition is. And you use that in every part of your day. And whether you're at work or whether you're not at work, you're using it. And I was on David and Kim on 9am a few weeks ago on Channel 10 in the morning show.
Yes.
And that was great because David, being the male and Kim being the female, of course, Kim was going on a lot about her maternal instinct and about how she used it to, being a mother and how it helped her make wise choices, and she just knew stuff. Where David was going on about very logically saying, well, I've just got this warning mechanism in my body, and it's like I have alarm bells that go off that I know when something is not right. But they use different words and terminology, and then off the camera, we were talking, and they both said, because of that, that's what's made most of their decisions to be where they are today. Yes.
I was wondering too, though, do you think it might be the bit of the rush involved? I would imagine the people we were discussing before, such as Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, do you think they get a real rush out of going with their instinct and then having it pay off for them, more so than perhaps a female does? Female kind of probably has well, I knew that's why I did it. Whereas a guy, I would imagine, I don't know, people will probably email me and go, no, Lia, that's crap. But I was imagining that, or thinking that it might be a real rush for them, and that rush is half the reason why they enjoy being in business.
I think that's right, and I'm going to tap into that. And I think for the women, I just probably haven't researched enough female entrepreneurs yet to know that, but I do know for the men. And I think if we really, truthful out there, and because the goddess is coming back into her power now, and there'll be a lot more female entrepreneurs out there as well. But we're sort of still in that transitional stage where women will be more empowered and that. So there isn't really as many as there are men, and we do have more case studies of men. But one thing, so I'm going to give you an example of Richard Branson, because I love the guy. He's fabulous. I don't care what anyone thinks about Richard Branson. At the end of the day, the guy's a billionaire. He's having a load of fun. He's committed to his family, and he works 15 minutes a day. Okay, well, and to me, that's probably a great way to live.
I love his exploits with his ballooning and things, and he's failed so many times, but he doesn't care. He's going to do it again. No, and I love that about him.
And he's sort of not scared of death as well, because he's not scared of death because he knows when he goes on these, he has a very there's a high chance he may die, but he continually does because he wants the most out of life. He has that philosophy. I mean, he knows there's only one life, but he states and he claims in his biographies that he makes all his decisions within 60 seconds. He doesn't, and he said this is part of. I'll give you a little bit of a story about Richard Branson, which is phenomenal.
All right,
is that from a very young age, he was very entrepreneurial. He would, always find something to make money or to create a stir in the world. He was very, he is very entrepreneurial minded, and he was always, well, this will work, that won't work, and very gut instinct. And he didn't really know what he was doing, I suppose, with the gut instinct stuff. But Virgin Records, at some point, he had to float that company, and he floated it. And what happened was that he went from being the only, sole owner and him making the decisions on the spot. So if the Rolling Stones were there, say, I like them, let's sign them up, let's get a record deal out done, for example. And he was then, in a position where he had to wait at the end of the month for a board meeting. He couldn't work on the intuition and the synchronistic opportunity as it presented himself, and he was losing deals, and he was not fully I suppose, connected to his intuitive intelligence because he had all these other factors in place.
Yes.
He ended up then, he just couldn't handle it anymore. He said, that's it, no more of this. Finding the money to buy back Virgin Records, and then took it back and then began using everything that he knew from a young boy, this entrepreneurial instinct thing he did, and continues to this day to do it. Because he's always said, you know, I make a decision within 60 seconds. I know within 60 seconds if it's a yes or a no.
Amazing.
And that's how he bases it. Now, there is scientific research done on this stuff at the moment. There's a professor in Australia. His name eludes me right now, but he's in Antil magazine, and they've got like a 7-page exclusive with this professor. And Antil magazine is an Australian business magazine, and he's actually done scientific research on entrepreneurs about what it is that have given them the edge.
Yes.
Because I say this whole psychic entrepreneur thing is the new age edge in the now age.
Yes.
Because people are, you know, as I've said to you before, people in the corporate arena are sick of the motivational speakers. They're sick of the let's just get up and get empowered.
Yeah.
They're looking for the edge that they can do themselves. And so, yeah, we've got scientists even in little old Australia proving that this thing that entrepreneurs are doing is psychic. It is something that's coming from a force that isn't seen, and it is like an intuitive intelligence.
It's very.
And to me, that's exciting.
It is, and it's very interesting because I'm sure you've told many a person with their, you know, a student or an entrepreneur, and I know when I've done my psychic self-development classes, the one thing I've done several different mediums and several different psychics in several different ways.
Yep.
The one common thread they've always said is if you ask something, generally the first thing that comes into your mind is the right answer.
Oh, look.
Before logic gets in there and says, ignore that voice. The voice that you're looking for might be quiet because you're not used to it, but it's generally the first voice that says yes.
Yeah, and that is exactly right. And the thing is, though, that for you and I, and say people who are spiritually aware, we grasp that. When you have an entrepreneur who has like a million business decision in his head, he goes home and he thinks about business and doesn't turn off and all that. He they're very smart people as well. It's not just that they're smart that makes them wealthy. That's part of it. But a lot of them don't know how to switch off the logical brain. So part of my job with the intuitive coaching is giving them techniques to help switch off or lower the volume of the logical part of the brain so they can hear the intuitive intelligence that they harness anyway. And part of what I do is I say to them immediately is you need to start letting go of some of the stuff. You need to start letting go of the control. And some of them look at me so white. It's like, are you serious? Stupid psychic, what are you telling me? You're telling me to let go of control? I got no control issues. No way. And I'm like, you do? Do you go to bed at night thinking a million miles an hour about the deal you've just done, the deal you're going to do tomorrow, everything that you've got to happen? You're sitting in control space every day. So part of what I get them to do for them to start hearing their intuitive intelligence more is to begin a surrender journal every single night. Now, I've spoken about the surrender journal in other practices, and the surrender journal, I swear to God, is been my lifesaver a million times. And I have one, I'm looking at it, you know, I have one next to my bed. Every single night I sit down, and whatever may be pondering in my mind that really I can't work out anyway, that really is just going to sit there, and I don't really need to ponder it because it's something the universe is going to work out for me.
Yeah.
I will just, write it down, you know. I surrender, you know, for example, I surrender when I can pay my telephone bill. So if that's what's coming up. I surrender when my car will be fixed. Little things. I surrender if I'm going to make a multi-million-dollar deal tomorrow. Whatever's going on in your head. Now, if anyone, it doesn't matter if this is for to let go of depression, anxiety, if you want to make more money, if you begin to start letting the logical brain have a bit of a rest, the poor little thing's just working overtime all the time. It's ticking overtime, and you go, look, sweetheart, I'm going to give you a bit of a rest because the intuitive intelligence really wants to go. So it is. It's like I see the intuitive part of us as like another, like as a mind, but it's a feeling, sensing, knowing mind, and that's why I call it intuitive intelligence. So I get these people everybody, whoever sees me, and I'll sit down and they'll get the same thing, or I say to them, begin a surrender journal, because if you can every day write it down, and when you surrender it, you're surrendering it to something other than you. I don't care if you want to surrender it to a shoe. You surrender it to something other than you, and you go, universe, you go sort that stuff out. I'm tired. I'm stressed, and I just want to sleep. And you do it. It only takes, for me, it didn't take very long at all, and my whole world started changing. And what's happening with a lot of the corporate arena, and I love hearing them talk to each other about their surrender journals. And they go, yeah, I've got a surrender journal. Yeah, I've got a surrender journal. And they use that word, and it's so funny when I hear them say it, because you'd sort of think it's a little bit spiritual and witchy, but it isn't, because they're using it as a mind map to see what is in their mind that stops them from harnessing their intuitive intelligence. And they let it go, and all of a sudden they start using the intuitive part of them more, because the logical brain is having a bit of a rest. And it's great. It's fantastic.
I was just thinking the intuitive intelligence, I would imagine, is a bit like a muscle that, it's probably, in most of us, been wasting away there for quite a long time. And the more you use it, and the more you start giving a bit of a workout, then it builds in strength and builds in strength and builds in strength. And I would imagine half the reason why these psychic entrepreneurs are doing so well is, I'm sure they've had their failures, but they've gone with their gut, and then it's what they expected or what they knew or what they intended happen. And you would never forget that. You would never forget that feeling. You would never forget what happened when you did what your intuition told you to do. So once you've done it that first time, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time is so much easier. And is that what it's all about? Is these people use their muscle that they've used that most of us don't?
You are spot on, Leah. You are so psychic, because I use that term when I'm doing the speaking. And the reason I sort of started thinking it that way was I do a lot of athletes as well. And to the athletes, there are a lot of them about the physical body, of course. And then they're very good at training the mental body. You know, they go to the Institute of Sport, and they have, sports psychologists that talks about training the mind.
Yeah.
And then there's moi that comes along, and I say to them, think about it this way. Look at your bicep, and I get them to look at their bicep. Go, look at your bicep. It's a pretty exciting bicep, because he's an athlete. I usually have a touch.
Yeah.
I usually go, that's a nice bicep. And I'm going, okay, now, that bicep, what do you do to get it to look like that? You train it, you lift weights, you're doing this, you're doing that. They go, yeah, they can so understand that. And I said, and that helps you be strong, and that's part of your whole physiological, makeup. And this is the same as intuitive intelligence. Now, your intuitive intelligence, if you don't train it, if you don't work it, it'll be like someone who doesn't train their body. It's limp. And you can do that the same with this. And they do that. And then a lot of them go, but I don't really know what that means. So I do exactly what you've just said, because you're so psychically smart. I say to them, go back to a time in your life when you were, like, in the psychic zone. Like, you were on fire when something you just knew was going to happen, and you just went, I don't know why. You just go, trust me on this one. I just know it's going to work out. And it has. Go back to that time, and I don't want you to think about it. I want you to go into the feeling of that. And they go, bingo. I know what she's talking about now.
Because that is what it's all about. Because the empowerment things and that they used to give me the willies, because they'd all be like, you got to feel it and that type of stuff. And and I think, well, how can I feel going here? Or to me it was Egypt. How can I feel? I can visualize it and what have you. And they're saying, no, that's not enough. You have to feel being in Egypt and that type of thing. And that made no sense to me. And so I thought, how can I get around this? And then, so I thought, well, where have I been? I've been to other parts of the world. How did it feel to be on the plane? And I filled in the gaps that I could. I could certainly feel what it was like to be on an aeroplane. I could certainly feel the excitement of boarding an aeroplane because I'd done that before. I could certainly feel, when it comes down to it, probably about 80% of it. The 20% that I'm missing is the bit that I don't know yet because I haven't been there, and I can insert pictures in that 20%. And I found that's what worked for me. So
and that's a good way of looking at it. A very good way of looking at it. And I was just saying to one of my clients this afternoon about the creative mind. The creative mind, the imaginary mind, is real. Don't ever look at that you're creating it or you're making it up, because that is just the modern world sidetracking us to what the reality is. The creative mind and what happens is real, because the mind cannot decipher. Say if I'm in a dream, I am dreaming something, and say if I'm dreaming my kids are getting murdered, and I'm remembering that dream, and I'm going through the physiological responses within the dream of terror, of distress, of horror, and mourning, and I wake up panting and screaming and crying, checking my children's rooms if they're all alive, okay? Now, that was just created in my mind. And you could say that's created from, another part of the mind, but that's not real. But physiologically, I have been through the same response. I have connected to my feeling body in the dream state. I can connect to my feeling body in a fantasy state. I can connect to my feeling body in a creative, imaginary state, because the mind cannot decipher if it is real or not. So it is real.
That's actually been scientifically proven now. I had a news article up on Ghost Radio about a month ago where some scientists sat some athletes down and they had them run in their mind a race they had already run.
Okay.
And then they had them run it. On paper, the exact same things happen.
Yep.
So they said if you can run the race in your mind and win, physically your body's already done it.
Yeah, and for the normal people who go, oh yeah, that's a lot of crock, yeah, scientists, blah, 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 maybe that's not right, go back to the dream. How many of us have had a dream, woken up in a nightmare, terrified, or as happy as Larry? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has been real because the body, the physiological body, has had a response. The response is real. The experience, you may try and say is not, but it is.
Yeah.
So I love that science is coming together with this stuff. I love it. I was talking to you about meeting Dr. Gary Schwartz last year in the last interview. Yeah. And then just coming together with these scientists now who are going, I want to so prove this stuff. I just love it.
Do you love to also the fact that, there's no doubt that you're an excellent psychic. You've been nominated and won Queensland's Psychic of the Year. Your clientele proves the fact that you're a very good psychic. And are you glad now that it's got out of your fabulous studio? I mean, I know your studio's fabulous, but it's got out of the one-on-one and it's now in the corporate world?
Do you know, someone said to me the other day, this is very dangerous what you're doing, And I said, well, it is. And the reason it is a little bit dangerous is because I'm going into a new field now. Although it is my old field, as I said to you, I've come from the corporate arena. I had a breakdown, I sidetracked, and I went to the true arena of life. And then I'm taking the wisdom and information that I've discovered, and I'm taking it back to the corporate arena. Yeah. And it can be, this is not a safe space to be in, because I'm going into a environment where they're closed. Whereas I go, say, to an Australian Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, I'm a main stage presenter and a draw card, and I have hundreds of people going, yay, this is fantastic, she understands the oneness and the miracle and, psychic stuff, and they come fully open, arms, open, and, we love you. Yeah. And then I'm stepping in a suit, lots of pink still. Pink or red. I've got to wear pink or red. I've got to be me. Yeah. But I'm still maybe, presenting myself in that arena, and I'm walking in, and it could feel dangerous if I wanted it to. It is a little bit unsafe, but you know what excites me? It so excites me. I'm so passionate about it. When you're sitting in front of 120 people, probably 60 to 80% of them are blokes in suits, and they're sitting there for the first probably 5 to 6 minutes with the arms crossed, and then I say something like, you know, when you've had that feeling and you just knew, and because you're so intuitively smart, it actually worked out, and they start nodding their heads. That, to me, is the moment that is so exciting, because if I can enter this arena and I can change some of these people's ways of thinking around without making it too hooey for them, and if it opens the door and they go, I want to know more about this stuff, I really want to understand a little bit more about this, you know, and my gift is not the psychic abilities. I do believe my gift is the language, that I can walk into that arena, give them a language that they can understand, then I can go up, you know, and start channeling and stuff in the crystal, on the crystal bed, and speak in another language for another person. You know, and speak about crystals and energy and consciousness and the oneness and all that stuff and interconnectedness. And then go into the corporate arena and talk about an intuitive intelligence, and talking about truth, and talking about synchronistic opportunity, and about how they are doing this, and making them feel special and not witchy. You know what I mean?
Warlocky.
Yeah, warlocky. You know, and there's nothing wrong with witches and warlocks, because I love them, because I'm sure I am one. But it's like, for them, it's so scary.
Does that make sense to you now, why you came from an entrepreneurial background, why you spent the first part of your life in the marketing background, and then why you had your breakdown, and you've gathered all those tools up, haven't you?
You know, I mean, even to this day, I mean, we all do. If there's a spiritual teacher or a motivational speaker on the planet who still doesn't doubt themselves, you know, they're not human, or they're lying. But we all go through our self-doubt, and we all go through, is this really my path? And it's sort of like week by week, you know, even day by day, more of it gets revealed, and I had these aha moments, and it was so funny. I've got to tell you this. I was at the entrepreneurial organisation launch of the Psychic Entrepreneurs. I had 120 business people come in Brisbane and to see me speak, and it was great.
Yeah.
And my sister was there as well, and she, my twin sister, bring her up. Actually, this is so funny. My other sister, Christina, came as well, and then my mother was there as well. And there was an auntie and a cousin. They all wanted to see me in that arena. And my mother grabs me before I get up, and she goes, you know, don't disgrace the family. Because I was going into the whole, you know, the entrepreneurial stuff. I said, Mum, it's okay, sit down, we'll talk after. So I went up there, and I've just got a weird family. As you know, like, I don't come from a metaphysical family. No. I come from a family, and the best thing I love doing, my dad, because he's just so full Greek, and I just, every time I get up on stage now, I do him. I just do his impersonation, and he always just goes, like on Easter, I'm over there, and all the family's talking about me and being a psychic and having the book out and doing the speaking, and my dad's just sitting at the end of the table going, bloody crazy, crazy psychic girl, bloody crazy, stupid, oh, I can't believe it, blood disgrace to the family. He doesn't see Maria Elita like I do. No,
apparently not.
No. But it is funny, because it's like, when I tell people I don't come from that background, this is very, you know, new and wonderful in my family. But I was at the I'll get back to the Entrepreneurs organisational launch of the Psychic Entrepreneur, and my sister was there, and then she went away to a Wealth Mastery weekend a week after, and she said, you wouldn't believe it, I was listening to a speaker up there, and she said, I looked at this speaker and I saw him at your event, because I knew him from someone. I went back in my mind and went, oh, I was sitting near him at your event, and he started saying some of the things that you were saying from your speech, and his thing, like I would say to people, when you get the aha moment, and when this happens, and the, you know, the psychic aha things and all this, and she said he was using your language. And I said to her, fantastic. Yeah. Because if he's using it, it's resonating within the corporate arena, they're going to love it, and there's only, you know, so many people that can present it and who actually have the credibility behind them to do it. And so I was really excited that she actually put the two and two together.
Yeah.
So for all of us, you know, whether you're a spiritual teacher or a motivational speaker, which I am definitely not, I'm a storyteller, that you are going through your life, and I think day by day and week by week and month by month, you still go, oh wow, I didn't know that was going to happen. Because I sort of felt I was going to go back into the corporate arena, but I sort of didn't really know how it was going to happen. And then I just stumble across, you know, a client sort of falls into my lap who happens to be the president of the entrepreneurs organisation, and yay, let's go and do this. And that was that.
See, it's the hows that I fully believe that anything can happen, but I like to know how. And
and that goes in the surrender journal.
Yeah, and I need to let that go. I know.
Yes.
But
and it is. And there's the other thing that it's like, you know, the law of attraction. We all know the secret is the biggest phenomena on the planet at the moment. And I will say I love that. The reason I love it so much, that the secret is massive, is that it has been like a domino effect around the world, like a porthole that's just, you know, blasted open for people just to be awoken to New Age, or if you want to call it New Age. I don't like New Age, but you know what I mean? I don't like the word New Age, but being open to something more than what is. All right? So this thing has opened it up, and if you like it or not, it's, you know, it's still opened up people's eyes. But so now people have went, I like a little bit of that. I'm hungry for more. What else is there? And then they start investigating everything else. And the sort of the secret to me feels like it will be a big thing, and then it will sort of fall away at some point because it's done its job.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's sort of like a little bit of a vaccine in the virus. It's done a massive sort of a hit, and then it'll sort of do its thing, and you won't sort of hear about it much, you know. And then all these other portholes have opened, and I love that because that law of attraction stuff. So if I just say the word "The Secret," law of attraction, everyone's ears prick up. But then I turn around and go, well, that law of attraction stuff's okay, but I lived that way until the time I was 30, and guess what? I still had a nervous breakdown, tried to commit suicide, and was depressed. However, the law of surrender is the law of attraction on steroids.
yes.
Because you are brought down to your knees because the universe has cycles. Always has cycles.
I would agree with that, because the teacher I interviewed from The Secret was David Shermer, because he was an Australian, and as you know, I love to endorse Australians, and, you know, because we're every bit as good as everybody else, so I could have had any of the teachers, and I thought I want David Shermer.
Yep.
And, you know, the guy's a stockbroker, and to be quite honest, I thought he'd be really boring.
Yep.
But I thought I was going to have to jazz this interview up. But I sit here before you humbly and say that, you know, he had absolutely no economical background whatsoever. Most people recognise him as the car park guy on the circuit. And he's a farmer, basically.
Yep.
And he has made his wealth through stockbroking, basically through everything you've said. You know, he said sell, and he can look at stock reports and everything, and the difference between selling last week and selling next week is his intuition.
Yes.
Now is the time to sell. And that just basically boils down the reason why I didn't sell last week, where I probably would have made tons of money, and this week I've made tons more, is because purely my intuition says sell now. And he was a fascinating guest. He was terrific.
So he really is a psychic entrepreneur, isn't he?
Absolutely. And he lost all his money 3 times.
Yeah.
And he loves that.
And you know what? That's the ones that I love to talk about. I mean, this is with Troy. Troy's happy to talk about the disasters.
Oh, yeah. He lost it 3 times. He was driving around in an unlicensed car because he didn't have enough money to pay for his licence.
Yeah, and I love hearing that because we all have been there. We're all still travelling through it, a lot of us.
Yeah.
And that the ones that are the teachers that I love more than anyone, it's not the ones that say, let's just get motivated and let's just be empowered and let's be happy all the time. They're the ones that get up and say, really, I got no money, or I've had no money, or whatever. And it's like I was at the Mind Body Spirit Festival a couple of weekends ago in Sydney, and I was saying, like after I do, say, a main stage performance or a speaking presentation, And I always speak to people. They all want to grab my book, The Miracle, which we know all about. We've spoken about before. But they'll stand for a long time. And I'll say to them, you can ask me a question, like a psychic question. I'll give you an answer. And I'll sign my book for you.
Mm-hmm.
And from after the third day, because it goes for 4 days, I was so sick of people asking me. So the question they come up and ask is, what's my life purpose? Now,
that's a pretty big question.
It's like, why not ask me who's God?
And that's right. Jeez.
Do you know what I mean? I'd be better. That's like going up to a car dealer and going, so how much for cash?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know. It's like, I've got to think about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so I said to them at the end of the day, it was like the last speaking one I did. It was a massive speaking one. And there was hundreds of people there, and I said, look, in a minute I'm going to be finishing up, and in a minute you're all going to be lining up for my book, and you're allowed to ask me the one question. I'd love you to ask me a question. But if one of you come up to me and say, what is my life purpose, I'm going to deck you, even though I'm a spiritual teacher. So what I'm going to say to you is, for every one of us, it's the same. Our life purpose is the one thing that makes us happy and gives us passion.
Mm.
So ask yourself, what brings me joy? What brings me passion? That is your life purpose. And the joy and passion part of it will bring in the abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And people sort of looked at me like, what? And I said, I am here speaking for 4 days. I do not get paid a cent. This actually costs me money to be here. Because Mind, Body, Spirit Festival do not pay their speakers.
Mm.
It is a come and promote yourself event. And I said to them, now, I'm here because this gives me joy and passion. I'm here because I know that I'm probably going to connect to a couple more thousand people this weekend about the truth that is the miracle and the truth that is, behind the illusion. And I do this because it gives me joy and passion. And I know if I keep doing it, it will reward me even more and more and more and more with the abundance.
Mm.
And talk about synchronistic opportunity, that's exactly how I got my book deal.
Mm.
I've said that before, is like people go, how did you get a book deal? I was just doing Mind, Body, Spirit festivals because it gave me joy and passion. And then one day I ended up getting a email with the subject heading book offer from a publisher who had just seen me at a few events, thought I was fabulous, had never even met me, and 3 months later I've got my book out.
Because her intuition told her that would be a great book.
Yeah. And that was that.
Mm. And I can only endorse what you say. I mean, I've heard other people say before I started Ghost Radio, I don't go to work every day. I do what I love, and I get paid for it. And sitting behind this microphone and talking to people like you, and the emails that I get after that say, "Wow, that Maria Elita, she's a powerhouse," gives me so much joy and passion. I mean, I get so excited. I get up every morning and go, "Woohoo! Hurry up the rest of the day. I want to get to 7 o'clock so I can speak to Maria."
Yes,
and
it feels like every day you're getting an investment. It may not always be, and this is the big thing, and like with the law of attraction, that it may not instantly be the big cash cow, but it comes through when you're getting the feeling and the sensing of the joy and the passion. It does come through. It's a ripple effect. Everything else comes through.
Sure does. Absolutely. Yeah. Have you got any of these, I'm curious to know, have you got any of these psychic entrepreneurs into your psychic crystal bed?
Oh yeah, they love it. I've got into the bed, on the bed.
Oh. All the children go to bed now.
The crystal bed. The funniest thing is...
I'm trying to imagine these high wiggy guys in their suits and their ties lying in the crystal bed.
Oh, it is the funniest thing. Like today, all men. I only had men in the studio.
Yeah.
And on the crystal bed.
Yeah. And,
because what I say to them, the big thing is, like if I had a normal sort of a spiritual person, like we're connecting you to your, we're spinning your chakras, we're clearing them, we're connecting you to your highest truth, and you may have a spiritual experience, and you may go into past lives. That's what they want to hear, and that's the experience they get.
Yeah.
But with the business guys, I say to them, which is true, I say, what we're pretty much doing is we're sort of laying you on the bed, we're allowing your mind to switch off for the next 45 minutes. You're going to be listening to my voice, and we're sort of going to be doing a visualization together, sort of like a meditation, a little bit like hypnosis, and hopefully your mind will be a little bit more clear at the end, so you can go and make some better business decisions. And what we're going to do really is help you tap into your intuitive intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that language on them, and they love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I have guys that come back every single week just so they can get it. It's like they get their energetic massage, although I'm not massaging them, of course, but they're getting their energetic massage and they're getting their mind, like a one-on-one meditation every week, and they come back and they love it. And, and it's funny because probably in the last 3 months, I've had a massive swing with the different clientele, as I've said, and mainly it's corporate men, and they are showing me, they're showing me by having that clientele that we're in a new stage of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And if the way I look at it, if some of those guys can start getting it, it's going to make their wives a little bit happier as well.
Yeah.
The kids are going to be happier, and because we're sort of over the whole, 90s stress corporate empire thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's, a lot of people have had their breakdowns. And if I can sort of grab one of the guys before they go to have their breakdown and prepare them, through their change in their life, that it's going to make life a lot easier and happier and simpler for everybody. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
It is, and I was just thinking there's hope for your dad yet.
Oh, nah. I think my dad is going to get it in another evolution, and I think it's a better story for me if he doesn't get it.
So you've not yet had Dad in the bed?
No, my dad won't go anywhere on it. He just, it's crazy psychic girl, and he just can't, he just can't get it. I mean, it was even like when my husband left me, and as you know, and he was ran off with the mistress, and my dad was just like, you be a bloody good Greek girl, you take your husband back, there's nothing wrong with him, he's a very bloody good boy. And I'm like, Dad, no. And he's like, but he'd just give you everything and a car and a stuff and everything, you should just take him back. And I'm like, no, because that's not, we're in the new millennium,
Yeah.
And, but he's in another world, and, I love him dearly, and I sort of got to the point a few years ago when that's his thing, he's never going to change. So,
well, quite obviously, I mean, the fact that you're able to talk so comfortably about it and recognise that it's not your truth is very, very important.
Yeah, and look, we had a massive argument about 3 years ago, and where he actually divorced me from the family, and this was the pinnacle, this was the great bit of it. So he divorced me from the family, and it lasted one day, and because of, he just went, oh, you think you're bloody God with this psychic stuff, blah, blah, blah. And because he was going through a stressful situation as well, and it was sort of like everything just got to the boiling point, and then, I went back the next day to see what it was. It just said, Dad, don't, you can say whatever you want about other things, but don't mess with my truth. I said, when you start going on about my spirituality, that's my truth. And he really understood, because I was very, very harsh with it, and I stood in my truth. I was pushed, as my biological father, saying, I don't want to know about your truth, and I was pushed to stand on my own 2 feet in front of him, saying, don't mess with it. You can you can talk about any other thing in my life that you don't like, but don't mess with my truth. And he knew that I was serious, and he just turned around and he said, oh, I love you, don't you? And so he's a Greek guy, and he comes from the old time. And my dad, learnt English in a pub. That's why everything's bloody stupid, bloody psychic, crazy girl. he learnt English in a pub. He's an immigrant, and he has his ways, and his heart's in the right place. And I suppose I'm supposed to be the philosophical one this time around.
Bless him. We're almost out of time. Tell us where you're going to be, where your studio is, and how people can contact you.
Yeah, well, I've got a Manifesting Miracles workshop coming up soon, in August, I think, in Brisbane.
And I'm
going to be it's best to go to my website because then you can see where I'm touring and where I'm at. And
which is www.mariaelita.com. There's also a link obviously on
Ghost Radio.
With also the psychicentrepreneur.com webpage.
Yep.
So you can, depending where you are at your life and what it is that you need, Maria can, as we've just heard, can speak whatever language you require.
So, yeah, and one-on-one and, either one-on-one or groups. It doesn't matter. I do everything. So great.
And get a copy of her book, The Miracle, as well. It's the most truthful book that I've ever read. And everybody says that to me. It's like, wow, she went through so much. And I think the next thing is, and then she told everybody about it.
It's the number one thing that comes back, a word that comes back is honesty.
Yeah.
I can't believe the amount of honesty you used, or I can't believe how honest you got. And that to me is the biggest compliment.
For a Gemini who likes pretty things, you didn't try and pretty it up. You said, here it is. That's what happened, and this is how I felt about it. And I absolutely adore that about you.
Yeah.
Another powerhouse interview. Thank you so much for being our guest. The very, very, I'm not going to say luck, the very, very best, what can I say, manifestation for your psychic entrepreneur stuff.
Thank you.
With
And
Mr.
I will
Hazard.
keep you updated at Ghost Radio.
Yes, absolutely. Because I know you've got another book coming out about sex.
Oh, yeah, we've got, I've got about 5 books coming out. I've got the Manifesting Miracles coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Sex, Lies and Adultery.
That was the one, yeah.
And the other one is The Psychic Entrepreneur, but we're going to ebook that immediately because everyone is like, we want this, and it's like, I can't wait for a publisher to put it on print. I'm going to ebook it immediately.
People love ebooks. I like books in my bookshelf personally,
Yes.
but I know with books that we've dealt with and stuff, people absolutely love. And I must admit, as a host,
Yes.
international guests send me their books by ebook because at least I can have it now.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having to delay an interview for 4 weeks because you're waiting for the host to get the book.
Yeah.
So ebooks are great. So
So we'll be doing that ASAP, and it's half written already, so it won't take very long.
all of that's on Maria's website. Make sure you get on over there, and you can many places and ways to contact her. Thank you so much for being our guest, Maria.
Anytime. Love to come back. See you later.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Okay, that's Underworld for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe, and blessings to you all.
You've been listening to Australia's own Underworld Show with host Lia Ramses. The Underworld Show is produced in Perth, Western Australia by iProdigy Communications exclusively for Ghost Radio Australia and the Ghost Radio Network. Tune in every Sunday at 8 p.m. Perth time to hear fascinating guests and topics such as the one you just listened to. For more information on upcoming guests, events, and breaking news, visit www.underworldshow.com or www.ghostradio.com.au.